What's going on, SC430 community? My name is Henry. Today's video, we're going to be doing an SC430mods.com mod, use one of Calvin's SC430 mods. So today we're going to be doing the dome light mod. So that basically is having instead of the original bulbs, they're being orange, so they're not really bright, so it doesn't cover much surface area when it comes to brightness. So we're going to be installing his LED strip mod. Basically, it's basically plug and play into the original dome. And on top of that, I'm going to show you a way to actually have the original dome light and the LED strip on both at the same time. Because with this mod, it's once you plug it in, you basically lose the actual dome light assembly, because the LED strip would be right here up in the front instead of at the actual dome light. And then another thing I'm going to show you also is how to fix your dome light. So very common issue where the dome light will stop working, and even after replacing the bulbs, changing the fuses and all that shenanigans, it stops working. So I'm going to show you how to fix that as well. As you can see, I'm in the car of Operation Frankenstein. You can see I'm on the door for the dome light. I'm going to have the door open, and then when I press the button, I get nothing. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. So first we're going to test to make sure that the dome light is functioning. So we're going to need a multimeter to do that. And then to fix it, you're going to need some soldering equipment. And then for basically doing the mod, you're going to need a Dremel or a very sharp blade and very steady hands. With SC430 mods, when you order the LED strip, it's going to come with these two. It doesn't matter which one you use for whatever side, they're both the same. And then it's going to come with the actual hookup for it. So as you can see, obviously the red goes into power, black goes into ground, and then these two at the end plug into these two. So I'm going to show you how to have both the dome light itself and the LED strip. Basically, we're going to cut part of the ground, like casing, so it's exposed, so we can fit. So when we fit a bulb in the dome light, it comes into contact with the red wire and the ground, so you have both of them on. So first we're going to take part of the dome light assembly out, and we're going to do some diagnosis. So the only tools you're really going to need is a pick and a Phillips head screwdriver. So let's get started by taking this apart. To take this out, we're going to take these two out using the pick. You want to go from the back end here and try to pry it out enough so you can get your hand and then kind of just pop it out. You want to keep an eye that there's 4 anchor points. 1, 2, 3, 4. So keep an eye on that. Same on this side. You want to go from the back, 4 anchor points. Because if you go from the side, you can see there's a bunch of damage right here, a bunch of damage here, and we don't want to do that. So you want to do it on this side, so in case you do unintentionally do damage, nobody's going to be able to see it anyway. So again, go from the back. That, and then just pull it right out. So again, like I said before, 4 anchor points. So from in here, you can see the bulbs. Nothing. It's on door, so it should be on anyway. I'm not even getting any power into the buttons, so we're gonna fix that. So now the next part is to take the Phillips head screw. So there should be one right up here on the top, and then one right here. So now that the Phillip heads are out, you're going to want to basically pry this bad boy out. So the anchor points, there's going to be 2 up here, 2 right here. So to pull it out, if I'm not mistaken, you have to start on this end and pry it out first and then this one, or it's the other way around where you have to pry this end out and then pull it out. Basically, it came out pretty smooth anyway, but it is from the far top end where the buttons are to remove it. So you want to pry it down and then out. I just used one hand and kind of just went straight down, and it came out pretty smooth. Okay, so from here, now that I've taken it out, you can see those anchor points where my middle finger is, right here, one here, one up there. So basically I kind of just went down, try to pry it out like this and then out, but when I did it, it kind of both came out at the same time, but it's okay. So then you're going to see there's a cord here. We're going to want to unplug that, but we're going to do some diagnosis first. So we're going to grab our multimeter and we're going to test that there for both ends to make sure that there's power going through. So you can see how rusty it is a little bit. So that's the reason why these bulbs will stop working, because those rust out pretty quickly, and all you got to do is really just solder over it or somehow sand it a little bit, but I prefer to solder it. I've fixed it before, so we're going to do that. Grab your multimeter, set it to the 12 volts, and we're going to test the dome light. So to test it, by basically putting the ground node on the actual like rusted part and that silver part, and then the power on that brown part and silver part, and we're going to test to see if there's power going to it and then going into the node, or if there isn't. Then if it is, we're going to check the same thing by flipping it on this side by going to that little node and that little node. So where my thumb is, that's going to be power, and then that node right there where my thumb is going to be ground. So we're going to test those. I ended up finally getting it working after disassembling another dome light that was also having the same issues. So as you can see, that one's on. This one isn't on because I don't have a bulb in it, but I doubt it works. But did a bunch of different wiring, so you can see it took a bunch of stuff off, and then did some soldering up here. So I'm going to show you what to do, because it could be a variety of different things, but it's because of just, you know, old wiring and such. So let me show you what I did with the dome light. If you have issues with the button, right, that's here, it wouldn't turn on. So use the multimeter, and basically, so you can do this with one hand. So the ground would be this little dot right here, right? And then the power would be the dot that's right here. You start there. While it's plugged in, if you read 0, there's no power going in there, so basically just kept following where to go. So then, again, right, when it's flipped over, this would be the ground, this would be power. So basically, I would test it right at the silver piece, right? So got 0 there. Then I tried right where the wire is. I know it might be a little bit difficult to see on camera, but there is the wire that goes through this and then obviously into the actual wire. So I would put the prong right here, and then did the same thing for the power. Obviously I have it soldered over because that was the issue, but read 0 there originally, then went all the way up into the actual connector itself. So the way I tested it was to check to see if there was power going through. So this first red wire right here on the right, and then this first black one is ground. So basically with these, I try to poke it in there. You can see there's a little bit of the metal. So tested there. There was voltage there. So then follow the wires. So that goes into this box, the transmitter for the garage. So pressing these, I saw the red light turn on, so I was like, okay, so that's working. So then, basically moved on. So these 3 other wires, right, the beige and black stripe, the black, and then the green. So obviously you can see I cut the wire, but I first started tracing that. So this green wire that's on the very left would have gone into this, which should have been power. So basically I put the red prong right into there, and then the ground into ground here, right on that black wire from before, and tried doing the ground here, and I believe I was getting power, but there was no power right here. So the problem was the wire. So to fix that, I basically cut the wire and put a new wire in, soldered it, heat shrinked it, and then there was power finally going into it. But then, even though there was power going into it, I wasn't getting power onto that little silver piece, right? That circle one. I didn't get any power there, but I was getting power to the wire. So that's a common problem. As you can see how orange it is, it's kind of all rusty. So that's why I used some solder and kind of just went from the wire and soldered over it and make it touch that silver piece right there, right? So then I finally got power from there to here. So when I tested it, plugged in, right, now that I've soldered it over, put the prong right at the silver part, and the black right on the silver part, and then boom, I got my 12 volts. So I knew it was working. So then I also checked to make sure the button was working. So that this top one where my index finger is, although it is black, that's going to be the power. And then the brown on the bottom where my thumb is ground. The coloring for the wiring is definitely a little confusing, but I checked there, I was getting power, pressed the button, was good. So then I put the bulb in and then it worked. But in the case you were getting power, right, you soldered this over, you were getting power on the outside but weren't getting power on the inside, at those 2 dots you would basically just add some solder at the top at those 2 dots and it'll give it its connection. So I'm going to show you that with this side because I haven't fixed this side. I only fixed this side. So let me plug this back in. So as you can see, that driver's side one works. So I'm going to take that bulb out and put it over here just so we can do testing, and then we'll see it light up if it works. So as you can see, it's on door. Door is not fully closed and frank, so it should be on, right? And then with the button, it should override it to turn it on. Nothing, right? So we're going to start checking by doing it on this side, right? So that top one where my thumb is now, that's going to be the ground, and then that one where my thumb is now is going to be the power. So currently I'm reading 0. So then, again, going to do it on the back side, where those 2 silver pieces are at, no power. So then I'm going to do the wire where it's actually coming from, and I have power. So I'm reading, I accidentally flopped it, so I'm reading a negative number by accident. It's reading 12.47 volts. So there's power in the wire, which is good. So basically where I poked it at first, right, I checked this silver piece, wasn't getting any power, so then I actually checked the wire itself. Might be hard with the lighting, but the wiring where it's like crimped down right at the middle of my thumbnail right there, there's a little gap, pronged it there, and then I was reading the 12 and almost 12.5 volts. So there is power going into the wire. So that in that case we're going to solder basically from that wire and basically jump over that crimp spot onto the silver piece like I did right there. So that's a good thing, but in the case you weren't getting any power, right, we're going to try the button first. So obviously we want the button activated, right, so in the on position. So that means this would be pressed in like so. And then we would test the prongs on the actual button switch itself. And then again, the top one, or at least on the passenger side, the top one's going to be ground, and then the black wire is going to be the power. So then you would test that. If it's reading, then that means it's good. And then it's maybe just a problem with the wire going from the switch onto this piece, because there is a ground wire that jumps from switch to the actual bulb that's over here. So other than that, everything else is working. If you're wondering about this, if you don't have any power in, like let's say you have power at that actual metal piece inside the connector, but weren't getting any power out on the wire itself and not on the silver piece, I had to, you can see, I ended up cutting the wire. So unplug it here. So this wire right here, I was getting power at the connector, right? But then I wasn't getting any power into the wire. So I tried basically cutting it at this end towards the actual silver piece we were talking about, and tested it there. Wasn't getting any power. So that means the wire, for whatever reason, went bad. It obviously may be different for you. Most cases it's because the reason why these dome lights fail, it's because of that piece right there. You can see where I soldered, you basically have to jump over it because of the rust, and then it ends up working no problem again. So you don't want to have to spend the money to buy a brand new dome light, or not a brand new, another dome light, just to run into the same issues again once it rusts over. So if you have a damaged dome light and it's just not working, don't throw it away. Find someone that you know who can solder if you can't, and basically just do like what I said, solder. You have to put solder on it so you're jumping from the wire straight onto the silver piece, because that crimped down piece that holds the wire down is rusted over. So I am going to reassemble this back together and then going to do that soldering thing. So let's get to doing that. Now that I've somewhat fixed it, there is power now onto those silver circle things. And now I don't have any power on here. So in here, basically gotta put solder over that little circle part, and hopefully from there it should be good. And then I can show you how to do the OEM dome light and the SC430 mods LED strip. Soldered. You can see the little balls of solder just right over that little small circle spot that I put, and I have the button clipped in. So it should be working, but it's because, I don't know, it might be hard to see, but the bulb isn't touching the ground. So if I do that, it turns on. So that's a good thing. So that means everything has been repaired. So if yours works already and you've skipped through basically the diagnosis of the dome light and you're trying to do the OEM dome light with the LED strip, I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to bend this back eventually, but for now it's fine. We know that it works. So next step is we're going to grab a Dremel. I apologize, the helicopter flying really low to the ground, but see this ground wire, right? The red and the black one. So this is what comes with it. So this red one we're going to leave. So this black one, this black wire with that casing, we are going to pay attention to how it's plugged in. So we can split this up a little bit. It's not a big deal. Pay attention to how it's plugged in. So I believe it doesn't matter which way you plug it in, whether it's this way or you flip it over and put it that way, but we're basically going to cut using a Dremel or a knife if you want to, and cut the square off so the metal ground part that's inside here is exposed. So when you plug it in, right, the bulb would come in contact with the metal piece. And then this red wire goes in between, might be difficult to see, but where the, right here, there is a gap right here where that red piece I'm using right here. So it'll go right in between there, right? And then that will be in contact with the bulb. So then when we turn the dome light on, the bulb will be on, and there will be power going through the LED strip. So I'm going to show you how to wire that up. So let's get to it by doing this outside of the car. With the Dremel or knife, we're going to cut a small piece, a square out. So depending on how you want to plug it in, so what I'm going to do is push this basically heat shield up a little bit, just enough so you can get ground wire in. So it's going to plug in to this ground tab here, right? So it's going to go in like that. So we know we want to cut to expose this side, right? So you want to do that to figure out what side to cut. Same thing with the other side. You want to make it so it goes underneath and then over and into the clip. You don't want to go over on this side because remember, we're going to need to have this wire go through on the other side. So make sure you do it on both sides to know what to cut. So it's going to look something like this after cutting just a small piece, just so that ground piece sticks up a bit. So we're going to feed this back in. Obviously push up the heat shield if you need the room. Sorry, I'm doing this with one hand. So pull this through, and then get the power wire in as well. So then we're going to connect the ground into that tab right there. It should go on pretty easily. Make sure you want the metal piece to be facing towards where the bulb would be, because that's what the bulb's going to be touching. It might require a little bit of effort, but as you can see, that exposed part we cut is facing towards the bulb and it's plugged in. And then for the power, we want to basically sneak it in between that piece where my index finger is. So I found it a little bit easier to feed the wire through the other side than right here. But you can see how it's plugged in, it's sitting right in there, and then we're going to put the bulb in there as well. So it's going to look like this. When you put the bulb in, just be aware that it will be tremendously more difficult to put the bulb in, because obviously we have wires in here, but it's going to look like this. So you can see that red wire is connected to that piece, right? Because that's where the power's coming from, and it's touching the bulb. And then the ground wire is touching that ground piece that's sticking out, and the bulb is also touching it because we cut that piece out. So it's going to look like that. So we're going to do the same thing, but with the other side, right? So pushing this up to make some space. And now we can figure out what side we need to cut. So it's going to go in like this. So I know I need to cut this side. So there's the other side. You can see the metal's touching the bulb, that red wire is in, and the bulb itself is also back in. So this bulb right now that I have in isn't good. This one's fine. This one's bad, so I don't think it's going to work, but the LED strip should work. So it should look like this. So now we're going to put it back in and figure out where to put that LED strip. Oh, look at that. The bulb still works. I thought it was a bad bulb, but as you can see, the bulbs are working because we cut that square piece off. So now there's still contact. So now we want to figure out where to put the LED strip. So the LED strip goes on the inside of this, right? So basically you want to pry it open a little bit and then just feed the LED strip how you want it in here. Obviously you want to be careful because you don't want to break it, right? And eventually feed the wire through here. So again, there is an opening, you can see maybe, to the windshield, so you can feed the wire through up here. It doesn't matter which one you use because either side works. So I'm first going to feed the wire through the top here, maybe bend the wire a little bit so it makes a little scoops. So it'll scoop in. You can see now where it's being fed through. And then we're gonna put it into this crevice. Really make sure that the square part is going inside. So here you go. So I was able to do it without the prying tool, but there will be a spot where there is a noticeable gap right here. So that's just because there's either a fastener or something along those lines that holds this up. So that's what's getting caught. So you can't really push it too far unless you pry it open and push it in there, or you basically remove this whole piece entirely and figure out where it's getting caught on. So you can see it fits right nice and perfectly. Sitting in this position, I don't see anything, and then we have the wire being fed through the top. We're going to be doing the same exact thing, but on the driver's side. So it should look like this. You can see that strip is in there. Nice. I don't see anything from sitting at this angle. And then now we got these two wires. So then basically plug and play, right? So you plug this into the driver's side, and then you plug this one into the passenger side. And then you put the dome light back together. Then, boom. As you can see, got the dome lights here, and then you can see on camera up here that LED strip is now on. So pretty nice. So even working on the driver's side too. So now essentially we just put it back together as if we already did the mod complete without the whole cutting piece. So again, you don't have to cut it if you don't want to. If you're not, you could just simply plug it in, like I said, just without the bulb, and then putting this in, plug it in, and you're good to go. You just wouldn't have any lights here. But I want to have both the bulbs and the LED strips, so I did both by cutting that small piece from the ground wire for each of them. So now we have both of them now. So now we're just going to put this in. You can tuck the wires in how you see fit. Obviously we want to make sure it's not too crammed up in there to damage the wires. So you can see it's flickering a little bit because I'm messing with it. So then to put it in, you want to go towards the rear mirror first, and then up on the back, and it should pop right in. And then we put the two Phillip head screws in there. Obviously be careful not to over tighten it because it is plastic. And then we put these guys back in. So you want to pay attention to those four corners because that's how to put it in. You want to put it in on the straight side first and then the curved side. So like so. Like that. And then same thing, straight side first, then the curved side. And there we have it, all done. So now we have this, right, and the LED strip. So now we got both of them running together. So now you not only have the light here, but you also have the light that will go all across the dash. So there you guys have it. This was an installation / review of SC430 mods, Calvin's LED strip mod for the dome lights. I highly recommend it. It makes it a huge difference, especially at night, obviously. When you shut the car off and open the door, or you need the light to see something, it will brighten up the whole front dash. It is a lot better than just OEM bulbs or putting in an LED one. So definitely get yourself one of these guys. If you want to do what I did, cutting a little bit of the ground wire, I definitely recommend it so you have both of them. But other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.